Okay, so thank you so much for attending this webinar. This webinar is about Cubbit, and today with me there is Stefano Baldi, VP of product for Cubbit, and myself, EMEA Sales Distribution Manager, and Richard Check will join later to explain the composer side of Cubbit. We have this agenda for today, so I will briefly go through the Cubbit proposition. We will have a live demo held by Stefano. We will then highlight the main difference between Cubbit and the competitors, a presentation about the DS3 Composer, and a final round in case the audience have questions or any doubts that we can clarify. So let's dive right into it. So first of all, who is Cubbit and what do we do? So we define ourselves as a cloud enabler, and as you will see during the presentation, we are disrupting the cloud storage market because we want to go against the centralized cloud paradigm that is used nowadays, and I will explain you later how and why. So here in this picture, you can see us. We are almost 60 employees now with the clients that go from B2B to enterprises. And throughout our history that started in 2016, we have gained the trust of venture capitalists and the leading entities such as the European Union, Barclays, Azimuth, CERN, Gaia-X, and so on. There we go. This is what I think is one of the most powerful slides in the presentation. So what I would like you to understand here is that we are currently introducing a new technology on the market, and we are a new paradigm. And I think this is a very powerful message to pass to your prospect. You can see here how our technology, the technology in general evolved throughout history, going from floppy, hard disk, and centralized cloud, what is used today, so where the data are basically stored in one point in a data center. And we are basically challenging this concept. So in contrast with the centralized cloud storage service, we are turning this concept around by distributing your data in a controlled way in a peer-to-peer network that can be decided by you or your clients. So basically your data is not stored anymore in a defined single space anymore, but is distributed in a peer-to-peer network. I would like to show you how Cubbit is a flexible solution that meets the needs of basically all the verticals, from manufacturing to energy, transportation, public administration, and so on. So basically, who is our client, potential client? It's basically whoever has the need of doing archiving of data. So in case you are wondering where we are seeing more traction in terms of industry, I can say that in particular public administration, because of data sovereignty potential capabilities and ransomware protection is it's something that the public administrations really value. Media and gaming is also something that we serve very well because of the scalability possibility that we have. They have to manage a lot of data. So this is something we are seeing growing. And of course, defense and enterprise. So they have also the necessity to have data sovereignty and immunity against ransomware. Great flexibility because we are size agnostic, so we can handle from a few terabytes of data to hundreds of petabytes. And we serve all the S3 use case. So how do we do the magic? There you go. What is the journey that the data is doing if you use the Cubbit technology? So you have to upload the data, and then we apply an encryption to the data using a special military grade algorithm. Then here, and this is a very important point, is the differentiator between Cubbit and the centralized cloud providers. Here we split the data in fragments into n number of chunks, let's say 20. Then we apply a redundancy to these chunks, and using again a military grade algorithm called the Reed-Solomon, and these shards are distributed in a controlled way, obviously, in a peer-to-peer network. When it's then time for you to retrieve your data, we are able to recompose the shattered data just by accessing 20 of the shards that we distributed in the network prior. If you are wondering, we use AI entities that are called agent and coordinator that they are governing the whole architecture, and they are making sure that there is constant data availability and the proper data redundancy is applied throughout the network. So they are constantly checking if all the nodes where the shattered data are up and running. So if a node, for example, disconnects from the network, the data is promptly stored in another node that is active. So this is a completely new way of doing object storage. Again, if you have questions, we have plenty of resources to answer that. So this way of doing object storage has some important implications. As you know, data is the new oil, it's very precious, so it comes with problems to solve. So one of these is the digital sovereignty and dependency on data centers that are managed by third party. Most of them are US entities or Asian entities. So basically, you don't have a real control of how your data are managed and disclosed. Think about the Cloud Act, for example. We are solving this problem, and you can now choose where your data are stored. If you want them to be stored within certain national borders, this is now possible. This is a big change that we are applying to the market. We are now able to guarantee the highest standard of data durability, reaching 15 nines, thanks to features like object lock and object versioning. We are not applying any egress fees or hidden storage cost. So what your client will see in their commercial proposal is what they actually will pay at the end. And last but not least, we are a sustainable solution for our environment. So we can provide a concrete solution that solves, that alleviates the problems of energy consumptions in data centers. As you know, data centers are very extremely voracious in energy because they need to maintain determined atmospheric conditions within the building. But we at Cubbit are proposing a new solution that will allow you to use less storage space compared to the current technology, as you will see later. So security is obviously our top priority. So we'll provide to the market the best-in-class best practices. We have plenty of quality certifications and certificate numbers, in particular of important cybersecurity agencies in Europe. I would like to highlight especially the ransomware protection. If you think about it, the fact that we encrypt and then split and apply redundancy and spread the data throughout a network is a very effective and for ransomware protection. With the centralized cloud storage system, now if you access one point of access where the data are stored, if you have a breach there, the data are lost. But by spreading the data in different nodes, if an attacker gain access to the specific node, it has access only to a useless chunk of data. So your data are basically immune to this problem. Another very important aspect to highlight is that we are completely S3 compatible. So this means that we can use features like object lock, object versioning, apply our IAM policies, and so on. Now, I would like to know if Stefano, you want to take over the presentation.
Just to show. Okay. Just a second. Let me share the screen. I hope you can see a white screen now.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What is it? This is the final user console. This is an S3 dashboard, let's say, where you can manage all of your space. When I talk about space, I mean the subset of buckets, users, policies, and settings that you have in such a project. This is what the final user, your customer, see about Cubbit. So, of course, he is able to upload and download directly in a bucket file. It is as simple as clicking and choosing a file to upload. You can create folder. You can set up permission about bucket. In particular, referring what Enrico was saying, you can, for example, just a second. Yeah, can for example set up versioning and locking and ownership, user that can access to the bucket, which level they can act, and a lot of other stuff that are very useful when you know about what is S3. Of course, you can define user, you can invite users, so you can add any user policies, and you can define a user as a owner, admin member, add a new policy if preferred. This language is a standard in S3 today. It is 100% compatible with S3 from Amazon, so he can do anything he wants about his space here. Of course, he won't use this dashboard so much because he will probably generate a couple of API keys, and he will use API keys in order to connect DS3 storage from Cubbit to Vim and to other stuff. That's just to summarize, to let you see what Cubbit solution is able to do. And I will get you have back the control in order to go on. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Stefano. Let me do the sharing again.
Yes, in the second part of the demo, we can look at the dashboard. So.
Okay. So here you can see a list of our technology partners being S3 compatible. We can integrate seamlessly with these, but also more technology partners. So Vim, Rubrik, Commvault, Cohesity, Nakivo, and so on. In our website, we have plenty of guides that you can leverage to guide you through the integration with these softwares. Now let's see an example of a backup use case, just to show you how we differentiate in a practical case from a centralized cloud storage concept. So imagine a customer that is willing to back up 100 terabytes of data on an S3 cloud storage with 3 copies spread across 3 cities, and compare traditional centralized storage solution and Cubbit on the right. So for centralized storage, you need to pay 300 terabytes for 3 copies in case you do 3 copies over 3 cities, so 100 terabytes per location. But with Cubbit, you only pay for a little bit more of 100 terabytes, because you remember you apply the redundancy to the shattered data. So with the the centralized cloud storage, when you delete the storage using a centralized cloud storage, it's very likely that you will be charged 90 days for the deleted data. But with Cubbit, you don't have storage costs. In the traditional model, backing up data across 3 different locations require the use of 3 unique buckets names due to S3 constraints. But Cubbit simplifies this and use only 1 bucket name, which is distributed across multiple locations. And important also to highlight that with the centralized cloud storage approach, there is no automatic failover between data centers. With Cubbit, you get a transparent failover between cities, and there is no need for manual intervention to perform restores or continue your data. So if you remember what I was telling you before about the AI entities managing the nodes in the network, when a node, or in this case can be a data center, goes down for whatever reason, the data are immediately replicated in another node. So you have a transparent failover. In case a data center goes down for a flood, for a fire, for whatever reason, your data are basically lost. So something else to keep in mind about the differentiation between Cubbit and centralized cloud storage. I would like to provide some use cases that are typical for us to manage. So I would like to start with the most common one, disaster recovery to the cloud. So backup done with, you saw before, Vim, Commvault, Rubrik, and so on. Also, media archiving is another big use case. Media and gaming have, very high number of terabytes to large files to manage. So that's another use case that we also thrive in. And I would say also log management is another big one, but also hybrid cloud and cloud to cloud. I would like to provide here a recent success story that hit the news lately with our partnership with Leonardo. Leonardo is among the world's leading companies in cybersecurity and defense, with almost 14 billion euros in revenue, and is now adopting Cubbit to keep full control on their data. So the application in this case was a data lake. A data lake is a centralized repository that allows you to store a large amounts of data that can be structured but also unstructured. So the concept was to implement a system which is capable of fragmenting the data over multiple points in the system, so the nodes. The fragmented data is stored in many nodes, and that in the event of an attack, for example, a malware, the individual fragment becomes the first sensor of an ongoing attack. Once the attack is detected, the node is isolated, and the data fragment is deleted, and the rest of the network goes into defensive mode. And now, Stefano, if you want to take over for the
Take
second
control.
part of the.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Now you should see a black screen. Did you, Rico?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what is that? This is a tenant. This is what an MSP, the dashboard that an MSP use while managing Cubbit. What an MSP does, it can for sure invite users. So you can add new users and send in an invite. The user will receive an email, and will connect and register to the system. Then the user will go inside this dashboard that we've seen before. So we will start Git bucket and use the stuff as you want. What it is interesting from this tenant, let me show that there is a dedicated URL for your customer that is s3stx.cubbit.eu in this case, because the name of the tenant is stx, and the dashboard I accessed before is exactly console stx cubbit.eu. So this is the one that this demo tenant is providing as a service. What can the tenant user do? He can, of course, monitoring the use of all the customer. In this case, there is only one customer, so I can see that the customer, the demo customer, using more or less 40 megabytes of space. That is exactly the space he's using here, for example. So I'm able to monitor the use of storage, the use of bandwidth from all of my customers here, and go project by project to see if they are, for example, reaching the threshold. In this case, I will get in touch with him and will ask him to buy a new space in order to continue to use the service, upselling the product. I mean, this kind of alerting is very easy to add because you just have to click on the project and to set up your threshold, and you will receive an email when you reach, for example, the 90% of the space. You receive an email that every day that will say the user is approaching to finish the space. You can also manage the life of the user from the beginning, because you can provide him a free trial in order to start and use the system when he is in the POC phase of is evaluating the product. And you can also receive alerting of bandwidth and so on. So in a very simple way, you're able to monitor all of the user and all of the activity from your user. And you are also able to download a report about the use all of your user, and maybe provide this SCV to your billing system and generate automatic billing information. There is interesting, not very much interesting information here. It's just using of space during the time. And what's more, of course, you can also use your image. This image will provide you a very simple white label system that will put your logo here in the dashboard. Your user will going to use. So it's a very simple system that give you very important power in monitoring the activity of your user and help you to get in touch with them when they are going out of space, or helping them where they are not using the system in a way that is not going them a very satisfying experience. Let me show you another technical, a very technical level of the project. You can see there is a white label. You can set up user your side that can help in you to managing your final user. You can also set as we see before, the name of your URL, so where the user are going to connect, but you can also choose which storage to connect to. This is a very interesting story, the fact that you can choose the network where to connect the space, and it helps to have a lot of options in managing all of the customer experience in terms of users of the S3. So I think it's over my side, and I give you back the control.
At this point, I don't know if Richard, you want me to carry forward the slides for you. I can share them, or you want to take the control?
Yes, if you can share it, sorry, that would be great.
Yes, okay.
Okay, directed to Richard. Richard, it's up to you.
Can you see my screen?
Not really, but
Enrico, do you want the control? Okay.
Yes. Awesome.
Do you have it?
Yes. Okay. Great. Now you should see.
So yes, just a few words on the DS3 Composer part. So the DS3 Composer, as it has been explained, is a SaaS software that is enabling partners and customers to build their own cloud storage solution. So they can build their own cloud storage solution in minutes by aggregating multiple locations. So maybe on the next slide. As you can see, the current offering that we have is composed into two different parts. We have the operated storage that we are selling as an S3 powered storage. This is what we all know about. This is what customers and users are using when they are using a backup solution. They will store their data using the S3 interface. And then that's the blue circle, the DS3 standard. And then we have the orange circle. This is what we are going to talk about on the DS3 Composer side. The DS3 Composer is the backend component that we are using to deploy DS3 standard in the field. So you can build your own cloud storage region. You can enable a service that will be compatible with S3. Next slide. So the way partners can build their cloud storage is very, very simple, and it can be done in the 3 simple steps. Step 1, select the nodes. So the nodes can be in the data center, the nodes can be on premises, the nodes can be in the cloud. For example, you can create and identify nodes available on Amazon or Microsoft if you want to, but you can use also cloud service providers, and you can also use cloud service providers that we will be certifying. We are working with different cloud providers today, like WIT, Aruba, OVH, Scaleway, and others. These guys can provide you potentially nodes to contribute to the swarm. But you can also use nodes that are located in your own data center. They can be located in your own rack, on systems, and the systems can be hosted in any data center from which you are already operating. So in other words, you can recycle or reuse existing available systems to run as nodes to contribute to the storage region. The third option potentially is to select nodes that are directly on premises. So if you don't want to go for a public service, you can just deploy the nodes by reusing the existing storage available and storage servers that you have available locally and make them contributing to the storage region. So we will see as a second step how we create the storage region. Step 2, once you have selected the nodes that can come from anywhere, you will aggregate these nodes into a storage region that we are calling a swarm. So the nodes can come from, as I said before, the data center, the on-premise locations, or eventually from the public cloud. There are a few cases in which you can, for example, build highly resilient storage region between Microsoft and Amazon. Does it make sense? Maybe. You can also build a storage region only on Amazon or Microsoft by combining multiple physical locations from Amazon or Microsoft. So you are staying within the Amazon world, but you can distribute the data across multiple locations within the Amazon world or Microsoft world. That's an example on how you can build a storage region. The storage region is something that you control. It's your storage region. And as we said before, it's composed with nodes that are completely independent from the storage service that these cloud service providers are building. So when we are talking about nodes, we are talking about bare metal servers, and you get control of it. You have a complete control of where the data is located. The step 3 is when you are created the storage region, you need to provide access points to the storage region. And you will define gateways that if you have, for example, deployed the nodes across 9 different data center locations, you might say, I would like to set up a gateway in each location. So in each data center, you can think to have a gateway that will provide an access to the whole storage region, not only to the data that potentially is stored in the data center. You will have access to the whole region, making the access point completely resilient as well. These access points can be in the data center, but they also can be somewhere in the cloud. Let's say that you want to build an architecture in which you are using your own data center deployment, and as an access point, you also want to have one access point from Amazon or from Microsoft or from OVH or from Scaleway. So you can build access points that can come from different other locations on the storage region. You can also set up the access point on premises. So what is the interest of doing that? The interest is to increase the potential performance that you will observe between your application that will be S3 compatible with the storage region. So in other words, if you want to reduce the recovery time objective, recovery point objective with a backup software like Veeam and Rubrik and others, you can deploy the gateway on premises, and all the traffic will stay on premises at the step 1 between the application and the storage region, and then the data will flow through the different nodes and will be distributed across the different nodes. So in a matter of 3 steps, I'm identifying the nodes, I'm aggregating the nodes into a storage region, and then I'm defining the access point. I'm having the service ready in minutes. So if we go to the next slide, this service is a very traditional S3 service that you know already. If you remember this orange circle and the blue circle was the DS3 standard with storage managed by Cubbit. In this case, when you are using DS3 Composer, you will build your own DS3 standard solution, which will bring you all the same capabilities in terms of S3 interface. You can create projects, you can create tenants. Tenant could be a customer, it could be a group of customers, it could be a sub reseller, let's say, or someone that is reselling to end customers. So you will have exactly the same layer of interface. And when these end customers will do and perform the backup, they will use the link provided through the access point of the gateway. For example, it can be s3.partnername.com or s3 something else. I mean, you are customizing the access point. What is the interest of that? You are creating an S3 service that is your own S3 service, and it becomes live in minutes. It's also a way to make sure that there's customers that are operating potentially from also large hyperscalers. They have a backup solution that is not directly tied to their existing infrastructure. I will give you an example. If you have customers operating their production from Amazon or Microsoft, it makes a lot of sense to have a disaster recovery plan that is not related to Amazon and Microsoft at all. At the same time, when you are having, let's say, your production from Equinix in Paris or in Frankfurt, it might make a lot of sense to use other data centers than Equinix to perform your backups and externalize your data. So with the DS3 Composer, you immediately enable the users to use different locations without changing the way they are accessing the service. It stays a fully S3 compatible service. So if we go to the next slide, when we are talking about Cubbit, immediately we believe or we think that we can migrate data because we have some data that could be eligible to move to personalized infrastructure. So why you would do such migration? First of all, because you want to build a service that is cost-effective for your customers. So what is a cost-effective service? It's not only a matter of cost per terabyte, it's a matter of impact if a disaster occurs. So when you are proposing something to a customer that is different from, let's say, what the hyperscalers or American companies can provide usually, you are also increasing the level of protection for these customers. These customers are completely isolated from the crowd of existing main cloud storage providers that potentially can become a target for the cyber attacks. So when you are building a cheaper solution, it's also related to the level of protection and service that can be deployed with the DS3 Composer. The point is not only to build a very cheap solution per terabyte, is a cost-effective solution related to the service it brings to your customer. So for the same level of price of what they were paying for Amazon, they can get a much, much better service with the DS3 Composer enabled by the partners. The second interest is to have a complete white label approach. So the white labeling starts with the gateway customization access point. So the name of the link, everything will be under the name of our partners or eventually customers. You might have a need for a customer asking to deploy the storage region within their own infrastructure. So the partner then will sell an infrastructure that will be deployed on customer organization as well. So they can reuse existing servers, they can select servers that are green efficient servers, they can select servers that are protected by specific layer of cyber protection. So they are able to sell a service in which they will advise customers on the best practices on how to save money, but not only how to increase the security, how to leverage their existing available space that they are not using. So there are multiple angles that is enabled by DS3 Composer. So the white labeling approach will bring additional value to these customers. They understand that if they are buying from a partner that has an healthcare certification, the terabyte sold by this partner is also running on a certified healthcare infrastructure. It's also a way to have a better control on margin and to define custom storage regions. What is a custom storage region? As I've explained, you are selecting nodes. So you can create as many storage regions as you want, and these storage regions can become specific to use cases. It can be specific to one customer. It can be specific to a vertical in which there are, let's say, potential regulations like healthcare. So you are creating within a country a storage region that is healthcare certified, or you can create a storage region that is dedicated to video surveillance for the customer. We have use cases when we have deployed the solution across more than 300 stores, and the customer is using their stores to create a storage region that is dedicated to his own use cases. In this kind of situation, we might think to have a video surveillance system that will have a resiliency in the cloud by reusing the distribution of the stores across the country with some storage in each location. So they are providing to their video surveillance layer a way to get resiliency for the videos without using public cloud storage services. And usually in the video surveillance space, customers are a little bit reluctant to move the data to public cloud. So this is a nice way. I'm aggregating the capacity from the different locations. I know that in each location I have some cameras and some storage, and I can deploy small form factor servers easily because all these locations are interconnected together. I'm creating a storage region, and the storage region will be accessed by the video surveillance system. It could be Milestone, Genetec, or whatever, completely transparently with S3. So this is the interest of custom regions. On the next slide, the technology itself, as I explained, is providing an immediate way to distribute the data across multiple locations. So you are matching what you already do with other applications with what and where the storage can be located. The technology, the DS3 Composer technology, is managing the redundancy between the nodes. Nodes are completely independent. If a node is disconnected, then there is no impact on the availability of the bucket, so you can still restore the data. So in other words, Cubbit does for a very centralized cloud storage like some others on the market, where they are putting everything in the same location. Cubbit is for the centralized cloud storage what a RAID system is for a single disk. You can define the level of SLA, and this is coming by design with the DS3 Composer. You will be able to define the SLA of the different services that you will deploy with the different nodes that you will use for the storage region. The good news is that one storage region can have multiple SLAs, meaning that you can have multiple level of service and prices for sure per terabyte, depending on the level of SLA you are selling for the cloud service. And again, if you compare this to Amazon or Microsoft solutions, you don't have the choice really, or you are paying a lot to have a very high SLA, which is not the purpose here. In some cases, we have customers that will be using about 15 data center locations within the same country, and they are doing a much better job of protecting their data with a distributed approach on 15 locations that they know than just trusting something that is sold as a 2 or 3 locations from Amazon, for example, at much higher price. Data sovereignty and the customer relationship are also linked together. When you are saying to your customer, use a third-party cloud service, you are already losing some kind of decision layer with your customer. What it means, a customer has no choice. They have to use a third-party cloud vendor to store the data, and they have absolutely no control on what this vendor is doing with the data. Yes, they have some, let's say, constraint, technical capabilities to get back the data, that's working well, but they don't know what's happening in the backend. So they are not able to decide what kind of servers this vendor is using, how much data this vendor is provisioning to operate the data. So there is a concern that can be related to green storage, for example. When you store 1 terabyte on a cloud vendor that is a public cloud vendor, you are not deciding how much energy is required to power the first terabyte of data stored in one region. I can tell you that it could be related to petabyte of storage in the backstage that are operated just because usually vendors are provisioning petabyte of storage to start running the first terabyte of storage. And they still have to provision the system to avoid a capacity limitation in the location. So the data sovereignty means that you have not providing any choice for your customer to select the locations where they want to store the data. It's not only a matter of country data sovereignty, it's a matter of customer sovereignty. So we like the idea at Cubbit of saying we provide a tool that enables the digital independence. So it's another layer. We want to bring back the control of the data to the customer and to our partners, and we want to bring digital independency for these services to use the storage in the backend. And one way to do it is to be able to select the nodes and the locations from where you will store the data. So that's mainly the key aspect of DS3 Composer. So if you have any question, don't hesitate.
Thank you, Richard. That I think marks the end of the webinar.